My name is Amina. I was a devout Islamic scholar, grounded in traditions that defined my very being. For years, I devoted myself to the teachings of the Qur'an, guiding others with conviction, pride, and unwavering faith. My life was a tapestry woven with the threads of spiritual duty, yet behind the veil of piety, a storm of restless questions brewed, questions I dared not voice in my world. It was in the stillness of a seemingly ordinary day that calamity struck, shattering my existence. In an instant, I plunged into darkness, not a darkness of despair, but a profound silence that enveloped my spirit, lifting me beyond this earthly realm. It was there, in that space suspended between worlds, that I encountered him. Jesus. He stood before me, radiant and beckoning, piercing through the shadows of my long-held beliefs. What he revealed was a spiritual war, a battle being waged not only between ideologies, but within our own hearts. I witnessed the faceless elite pulling the strings of division, manipulating the very narratives that kept humanity blind to the truth. I saw the suffering orchestrated by those in power, the conflicts ignited by greed, and a world spiraling into chaos. Each image seared into my mind like hot iron. The urgency of his message resonated within me. "You are meant to be a warrior of light," he declared, igniting a fire in my belly that demanded action. As I returned to my body, gasping for breath, a heavy realization settled upon me. I was no longer just a scholar bound by doctrine. I was a voice meant to awaken others to the truth that transcends borders, beliefs, and cultures. This was not merely a personal transformation. It was a call to a greater mission of awakening a world ensnared by deception. In a moment when I was least expecting it, my mundane reality became infused with a palpable urgency. The time for complacency had passed. Now, there was a weighty expectation to share these revelations. As I stand here, poised to unfold this extraordinary journey, I invite you to join me. Before I dive deeper into this incredible story, I want to connect with you. Where are you watching from? And what time is it where you are? Comment below. I'm eager to see how far this truth stretches across the globe. And don't forget to subscribe to Truth from Beyond. What I'm about to share holds the potential to reshape our understanding of faith in the world. Trust me, you won't want to miss these upcoming revelations. I had always believed that my life was meant to serve Allah and defend Islam. Born in Alexandria to a family steeped in the traditions of Sunni Islam, my early years were infused with the teachings of the Qur'an. I spent countless hours memorizing verses, recollecting hadith, and debating Islamic jurisprudence. I was a devout student, and as I grew older, I became a respected professor of Islamic studies, a leader among women, guiding others in the religious tenets that had shaped my very existence. Yet, within me, there was a quiet restlessness that I never fully understood. It was a murmuring of questions that seemed too dangerous to voice in my world. Little did I know, these questions would soon lead me on an unimaginable journey, a journey that would forever alter my perspective. It was a day like any other when the accident happened. I remember driving home, the sun setting behind me, casting long shadows across the streets. That's when it hit me. A sudden collision that tore through the fabric of my reality. In those fleeting moments, as my life teetered on the brink, I felt myself plunge into darkness. It was not the darkness of despair, but a profound silence that enveloped me. I can only describe it as an unfathomable stillness, where time ceased to exist and the bustling clamor of life faded away. And in that moment, I felt a force pulling me away from my body. A near-death experience that allowed me to see the world from a vantage point I had never even considered. In that otherworldly space, I encountered him, Jesus. At first, I hesitated, grappling with disbelief. After all, everything I had been taught condemned him as a mere prophet, not the divine figure others claimed he to be. But there he stood, radiant and full of love, piercing through the shadows of my long-held beliefs. His presence was unlike anything I had ever experienced, an all-encompassing truth that resonated deep within my soul. I found myself drawn to him as he began to reveal truths that shattered the illusions I had lived under. He spoke of a spiritual war that raged not just in the heavens, but here on earth, a conflict waged not between nations, but within our hearts and minds. It was then that I realized I had been part of a hidden agenda, manipulated by forces far beyond my understanding, a deception crafted by an elite few who thrived on division and conflict. He showed me the interconnectedness of all humanity, highlighting the strife that plagued our world, wars ignited by greed, suffering orchestrated by leaders who cared more for power than for souls. I saw flashes of the future, a tapestry woven with both hope and despair. There were glimpses of rebellion, an awakening in which people would begin to seek the truth, cutting through the lies that society had fed them. "You are not meant to be a servant of the darkness," he said, "but a warrior of light." His words resonated within me like thunder. I understood that understanding the truth wasn't just for me. It was a call for everyone to awaken from the slumber of their complacent lives and to recognize the spiritual war unfolding around them. As I returned to my body, breath clawing at my lungs, the weight of this revelation became almost unbearable. I realized that my life's purpose had been redefined. I thought of my role as a professor in Islamic studies. Had I unknowingly contributed to the very deception Christ spoke of? With every book I had ever written, every lecture delivered, was I perpetuating a cycle of ignorance? The urgency of my experience ignited a fierce resolve within me. I had witnessed truths that the world needed to hear, deep spiritual insights that transcended borders, dogmas, and cultures. In a world rife with confusion, people are grasping for answers, yearning for something real to anchor their souls. How could I bridge this chasm without losing my own identity in the process? This newfound mission began to weigh heavily on my heart as I left the hospital. I was no longer just a Muslim woman. I was a seeker of truth in a world that was rapidly losing touch with it. My experience had opened my eyes to the manipulation of technology, the way propaganda was woven into the fabric of our daily lives, and the subtle ways in which the elite maintained their grip on power. My past no longer felt like a shackle, but a stepping stone toward a greater understanding of what it means to walk in faith, anchored in truth, equipped for the battle ahead. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but the urgency of my awakening propelled me forward. What I had witnessed was just the beginning. My journey into the depths of this spiritual war had only just commenced. I was living the life of a hardworking truck driver, navigating the endless highways of America, delivering goods from coast to coast. The hum of the engine was my constant companion, the road stretching ahead as wide as my dreams. Each day was a blend of the ordinary and the extraordinary. I cherished the simplicity of my profession, the satisfaction of providing for my family. My beliefs were straightforward, molded by years of experience and a strong sense of duty to those I loved. I was a man of routine, often relying on the radio to keep me company. The voices of talk show hosts discussing the current state of our world echoing in my cab. Yet, beneath that sturdy exterior lay an ever-present restlessness, a yearning for something more. Life felt heavy sometimes, a weight I dared not define. That weight became unbearable one fateful night. A storm unleashed its fury, rain lashing down like fury unleashed from above. Braving the elements, I wrestled with the wheel, my heart pounding in my chest. Suddenly, the truck veered, a wheel slipping into the abyss of a highway ditch. I was thrown into chaos. A visceral blend of fear and helplessness enveloped me. Darkness swallowed the world as the metal twisted against the earth, and in that brutal moment of impact, I felt my consciousness fade the boundaries of existence unraveled, and I was thrust into an abyss that defied comprehension. A near-death experience enveloped me as I drifted beyond the realm of my earthly body. In that suspended state between worlds, I encountered what felt like an all-consuming light. It was not merely illumination. It was love, peace, and an understanding beyond measure. As I drew closer, I saw a figure emerge from that brilliance, radiating a presence that felt overwhelmingly familiar. Jesus. This was not the image portrayed in stained glass or illustrated books. It was raw, real, and profoundly human. He stood there, his gaze piercing through me, revealing my innermost fears and joys. "You have been searching for truth," he spoke, and his voice resonated deep within my core. It was then that the unfolding of hidden truths began to unravel the fabric of my understanding. The revelations that cascaded from him shattered any notions I held about life, politics, and spirituality. I saw visions of a world ensnared in a web of deception, leaders vying for power at the cost of the very souls they claimed to protect. I witnessed wars, conflicts born not from necessity, but from the desire to control, to divide, to conquer. Every image burned vividly into my mind, each a stark reminder of the spiritual war waging behind the scenes of our reality. I grasped the vital role of technology, once seen as a bridge to the future, now weaponized as a means of surveillance and manipulation by those in the shadows, the elite orchestrating this symphony of control, masquerading as saviors while pulling the strings of humanity's plight. "Awaken," Jesus urged, his message radiating urgency. The veil was thinner than I had ever known, and I was compelled to confront the hidden agendas lurking within our society. "You will no longer sit in silence," he impressed upon me, the weight of that responsibility pressing heavily down upon my heart. I understood this was not mere rhetoric. Lives depended on the revelations I was to embrace and share. With every passing second, the tension mounted, the stakes growing exponentially higher. I saw the fractures running through our global landscape. A people starved for truth, echoing cries of desperation lost in a cacophony of noise. The revelation was both a burden and a blessing. I was called to be a bearer of this knowledge, to cut through the lies that shrouded us in ignorance. Yet, as I stood poised at the precipice of this newfound truth, fear gripped me. I felt the whisper of my past tugging at the edges of my consciousness. Would I betray the man I once was? My identity as a faithful believer? My role as a family provider? I was filled with questions, but Jesus' presence reassured me. "You are part of a greater narrative," he reminded me, one that transcends personal sacrifice. As the visions intensified, I caught sight of the future, plagued by further division and conflict unless the truth was unveiled. The urgency pulsated through me, igniting a flicker of defiance. I knew I had a choice to make: step into the light of this revelation, or retreat into the shadows of complacency. The clock was ticking, and the invitation to awaken drew taut as I prepared to face the daunting task before me. I stood in line at the warehouse, the usual hum of machinery around me, muffled by the weight of the day's exhaustion. As a truck driver, I'd spent countless hours on the road, delivering goods across a sprawling nation. Day in and day out, I encountered relentless asphalt and the rhythmic thrum of the engine beneath me. It was a solitary life, where thoughts would drift and blend into the stream of tires on highways. It was a life of routines until everything changed with that one fateful moment. A collision that shattered the monotony and sent me spiraling into a confrontation with the unimaginable. It had rained heavily that afternoon. I was navigating a narrow stretch of road when another truck suddenly veered into my lane. In that split second, my heart raced as time slowed, a primal instinct igniting within me. I braced for impact, my mind racing through the regrets of a life lived too cautiously. The crash was deafening, metal crunching against metal, and then a blinding light. I felt as if I was being pulled away from my body, watching as the wreckage unfolded below me, a mere spectator to my own demise. The darkness enveloped me, yet within it, there was a profound peace that I couldn't comprehend. In that stark void, I experienced a presence that was palpable, a warmth that enveloped me like a divine embrace, and then, before my eyes, emerged the figure of Jesus. His eyes held a depth of compassion and understanding that pierced through my fears. In that moment of intimacy, he spoke not just to my soul, but to the very fabric of my existence. He unveiled a revelation that I had been blind to, a tapestry of manipulation woven by the elite who played the strings of society like puppeteers. Their hidden agenda was far more sinister than I had ever envisioned, a deception that spanned cultures and faiths, with humanity teetering on the edge of a precipice. Jesus revealed to me the spiritual war unfolding beneath the surface of everyday life. Not just a war of ideologies, but a battle for the very essence of humanity. He shared visions of leaders who had strayed from their purpose, seduced by power and control, trading the truth for convenience. The political landscapes had taken for granted were mere chessboards, manipulated by unseen hands. Images of future strife flickered before me, wars catalyzed by division, driven by hatred and misunderstanding, their roots embedded deep in spiritual blindness. Panic welled within me as the horror of it all sank in. As I sank deeper into this communion, the fabric of reality began to unravel. I was overwhelmed by a sense of urgency that washed over me like a tide. Jesus implored me to awaken, not just to my own plight, but to the collective slumber that had sedated humanity. Technology, once hailed as a savior, was being harnessed to tighten the grip of the elite, steering society toward an abyss. My heart raced, my spirit ignited with a newfound purpose. I realized that my existence was no longer just about delivering bolsters of goods. It was about sharing this awakening that screamed for truth amidst an ocean of lies. And just as quickly as it began, the light started to fade. I felt myself being drawn back, a swift and jarring return to my fractured reality. I gasped as I awakened amidst the wreckage, the sirens wailing in the distance. But I was different now, irrevocably changed by the revelations I could scarcely grasp. My mind was a cacophony of fear and hope, ruminating on the magnitude of what I had seen. Each breath came heavy with the weight of a mission that now loomed before me, a call to arms that would challenge everything I thought I knew. How could I confront the world with these truths? What would become of me? And what ripples would my choices cast into the expanse of human experience? I stood at the brink of transformation, desperately seeking clarity in the chaos that surrounded me, aware that the next steps I took would shape not just my destiny, but perhaps countless others yet to awaken. I can still feel the echo of that day reverberating in my thoughts. I was just an ordinary man, a truck driver, grappling with the daily grind of life. My routine was simple. Long hours on the road, the hum of the engine, the distant mountains lining the horizon. For many, the life of a truck driver is mundane. But for me, it was freedom. The open road was my sanctuary, but that day turned everything upside down. It started as just another delivery, a drive across state lines. I remember the sun setting, casting an orange hue over the asphalt, when suddenly everything went dark. One moment, I was navigating the curve on that lonely highway. The next, I was engulfed in an explosion of blinding light. It wasn't frightening, surprisingly. In that moment, I wasn't worried about my truck or the load I carried. Instead, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace envelop me, as if I had crossed into another realm entirely. In that transcendent space, I found myself face to face with Jesus. His light was radiant yet warm, his presence filling the void of uncertainty I hadn't known I was harboring. "You've been searching for the truth," he said, his voice reverberating through my very being, stripping away years of built-up walls and defenses. That statement lingered in my heart, and the weight of its significance became clear as I experienced visions swirling around me. Visions of a world enveloped in chaos. War, famine, leaders hoisting the weight of their greed upon the masses, manipulating the truth to serve hidden agendas. For the first time, I understood the spiritual war that raged behind the veil of our everyday lives. Jesus showed me the gyoe, intricate web connecting us all, displayed vividly before my eyes. I saw how the elite puppeteers pulled at strings, feeding division and distrust among us. The very framework of society seemed designed to keep us in ignorance, separated by our differences, while the powerful profited from our despair. My heart ached as I witnessed these revelations, the depths of manipulation laid bare. How could we, as humanity, become so blind to our own suffering, entrapped in a cycle of hatred and deception? Then came the realization, a shocking revelation of how drastically my perceptions had been misaligned. Having spent my life wrapped tightly in fears and conformities, I understood that Jesus didn't just reject the systems of this world. He offered a radically different perspective. He beckoned me to a relationship grounded in love and compassion, far beyond the judgments of culture or doctrine. I saw a world bursting with the potential for connection, but only if we awoke to the truth hidden beneath our surface beliefs. That awakening ignited something deep within me, a desire to reach others, to shake them from the slumber of complacency that had entrapped me for so long. As I returned to consciousness, my reality felt palpably altered. Every moment thereafter became infused with urgency. I began reaching out to people in my community, sharing pieces of that divine encounter. Their responses, thick with skepticism and curiosity, merely fueled my passion. I understood that life would never return to the normal I once knew. Each person I spoke to carried within them the potential for awakening, yet many remained ensconced in their routines, oblivious to the spiritual battles raging around them. I realized my testimony bore not just personal significance, but a call to action, urging others to explore the deeper connections available to them. A truth that could unravel the chains of division and manipulation choking our world. I remember the night everything changed. It was I, like any other. I was just a husband and father, a blue-collar worker pushing through the grind, feeling the weight of responsibilities resting heavily on my shoulders. My hands were worn, my back ached from the long hours, but I did it all for my family. I thought I was living a good life, following the rules, providing for those I loved. But that night, as I climbed into bed, a sharp pain shot through my chest. Shocking me to consciousness, the world faded into a blinding light. And in an instant, I was gone. What followed was both terrifying and profoundly beautiful. I found myself suspended in a void, surrounded by an ethereal calm. It felt as if time had lost its meaning. Out of the brilliance, Jesus emerged, his presence radiating love beyond comprehension. He looked at me with eyes that pierced right through my soul, unveiling every fear, every regret I had buried deep within. I trembled at the unfathomable grace that enveloped me, an invitation to see the truth behind the facade of our existence. In that moment, I understood that my life had been built on layers of deception, both in my personal beliefs and the world around me. He guided me through visions, scenes of our society, unraveling like threads from a frayed tapestry. I witnessed wars, fueled by greed, that tore families and communities apart. Leaders bellowed their loyalty to nations while their hands were stained with blood. I felt the weight of a hidden agenda that manipulated our trust, alienating us from one another. How technology was weaponized to keep us distracted and divided. It became increasingly clear that the battles fought on the surface eclipsed the real spiritual war raging beneath. I began to grasp the systemic corruption tightly woven into the fabric of our reality, the elite deftly controlling the narrative while millions suffered in silence. Amidst these revelations, I remembered the teachings I once adhered to, endlessly checking boxes of righteousness. Yet here, in the eye, presence of Jesus, I found that salvation was not a reward for toil, but a gift of grace, bestowed freely upon those who believed. This profound concept shattered the theological framework I had held dear for so long. It was not about earning God's favor. It was about surrendering to His love, letting it fill the cracks of my inadequacies. Each truth He revealed was a call to awaken, to the reality of our shared humanity, to the urgent need for reconciliation instead of division. At that moment, I recognized the consequences of my disbelief, my apathy. It was not just my soul at stake. It was the future of my children, my community. Our very existence hinged on our choices. The visions intensified, and I saw flashes of families gathered in prayer, friends embracing across cultural divides, peace breaking out in places once ravaged by discord. But this future was not guaranteed. It demanded action. Each whisper from Jesus beckoned me to rise, to be a beacon of truth in a world swollen with lies. The urgency of this mission pulsed through my veins, overwhelming my senses. As I suddenly jolted back to my body, collapsing on the floor, echoes of those truths lingered in every fiber of my being. My heart raced, not from fear, but from the hope that surged within me. I knew, now more than ever, I was a messenger of this awakening. The shadows of doubt that once clouded my mind began to dissipate, replaced with clarity. I was compelled to share these revelations, to confront the deception that held our hearts captive. The heaviness of the world bore down on my shoulders, but the light of truth ignited a flame of courage within me. There was a great sea of souls waiting, yearning to awaken. And I had a responsibility, a calling that I could no longer ignore. I was an everyday man, just like anyone else, living my life in the humdrum of routine. My days were filled with the simple duties of a factory worker, rising before dawn, clocking in, and pouring myself into the labor that kept food on the table for my family. But everything changed the day I was involved in that horrific accident. One moment, I was operating heavy machinery, and the next, chaos enveloped me. I felt the crushing weight of metal and the scream of twisted steel echo in my ears as darkness spilled over my vision. That darkness opened into a surreal void, where time and space lost all meaning. I found myself suspended in a timeless expanse, a realm where earthly fears and worries faded. It was in this moment of utter vulnerability that I encountered a presence, warm, loving, undeniably real. As the shadows receded, there, standing before me, was Jesus. His eyes held a depth of understanding that pierced through the very fabric of my soul, revealing the tightly woven tapestry of my existence, my choices, and my beliefs. I felt stripped bare, faced with the overwhelming reality of my life. "Why did you fear?" he asked, and the weight of his question struck me with profound urgency. Instantly, I was shown glimpses of my life, moments of anger, resentment, and division, not just within myself, but echoed within society. I saw friends and family torn apart by ideological battles, struggling to find common ground, while manipulators weaved false narratives to drive wedges between us. I realized then that this was more than mere personal strife. It was a great spiritual war, one that had been meticulously orchestrated by an elite few, hidden agendas camouflaged behind screens, and public rhetoric. It was deception at its finest, a sinister plot meant to blind us to the greater truths of our existence. In the midst of this revelation, scenes from our world's tumultuous political landscape unfolded. I witnessed leaders stoking the flames of division, cultivating distrust amongst their people, all while claiming to be champions for justice. Children caught in crossfires of wars I saw, not battles for territory, but soul-deep struggles for spiritual freedom. It was painfully clear that the technology we relied on had become a double-edged sword. Instead of lifting us toward enlightenment, it distracted us, leading us down paths woven in shadows. The urgency of these insights gripped my heart. I felt a powerful calling to awaken to this truth and share it before darkness closed in once more. Yet, standing in this divine presence, doubt began to flood my mind. Could I really let go of the life I had always known? Loyalty to my past clung to me like chains, even as I felt the tender pull of Jesus' grace urging me toward something radical, something transcendent. I remembered the teachings from my childhood, those lessons steeped in fear and obligation, and I began to see the unwavering contrast between them and the boundless grace of Jesus. It was a revelation that shook the foundations of everything I accepted as truth. Salvation was not a reward for the worthy. It was a gift waiting to be accepted with open arms. As I floated in this sacred space, I sensed the relentless ticking of time drawing me closer to a decision. The tension coiled within me like a storm. And as I glimpsed the world littered with division and despair, I saw a glimpse of hope, an awakening. I felt the warmth of that divine light brush against my soul, stirring a fiery urgency to ignite a movement of understanding and compassion. But just as the abyss threatened to pull me back, I was yanked into the harsh reality of my earthly existence once again. Each breath I took after, that near-death experience was saturated with new meaning, a relentless quest for truth pulsating within me. But the battle ahead loomed large. I would face backlash from my community, ridicule from my peers, and the painful loss of the life I once cherished. Yet, standing on that precipice of change, I knew that I could no longer remain silent or complacent as the world spiraled further into darkness. Even as doubt whispered its incessant chorus, I felt emboldened by the revelation I had received, ready to rise against the tide of complacency. The truth had unshackled me, and I resolved to awaken others, to peel back the layers of deception shrouding our lives. Just as I prepared to step boldly into this new reality, the shadows loomed once more, threatening to engulf me. Would I find the strength to confront the hidden agendas of the elite, to challenge the disillusionment that bound so many in the chains of ignorance? My heart raced, filled with both dread and a glimmer of hope, poised at the brink of transformation. The urgency of my mission surged through me like a wildfire, pushing me inexorably toward a destiny that was no longer my own, but a calling that beckoned me forth. I remember the day when everything shifted, as if the ground beneath my feet had crumbled to dust. I was driving home, a simple routine I'd mastered over the years, a caterpillar-like existence, maneuvering through the daily grind. I was a mechanic, a problem solver by nature, but on that day, I was merely a man in the wrong place at the wrong time. The rain was pouring, the roads slick and treacherous, and as I rounded a blind curve, there it was, an oncoming vehicle swerving into my lane. Everything went black in an instant, a brief moment suspended in time, where silence enveloped me like a thick fog. In that weightlessness, I experienced a near-death experience that rewrote my understanding of existence. It wasn't just darkness. It was an absence of everything I once knew. Then, like a flickering candle lightening a dark room, I felt warmth, the warmth of love more profound than any I had experienced. I opened my eyes to find myself surrounded by brilliant light, shimmering and alive, almost as if the universe itself had conspired to reveal a truth that had eluded me for far too long. And there he was, Jesus, standing before me. His presence was beyond comforting. It felt like home, yet infused with an unfathomable weight of truth. As I stood in his embrace, I felt layers of despair, confusion, and doubt lifting off my shoulders. He spoke to me, not in conventional words, but through a silent knowing that echoed through the depths of my being. In that moment, I understood the gravity of the spiritual war raging around us. He showed me glimpses of a world fraught with deception, leaders manipulating the masses, disguising their intentions behind smiles and promises, woven intricately with ideologies that served only to divide us. I saw the suffering of families torn apart, communities fractured by fear, and nations spiraling into chaos, all to fulfill hidden agendas. My heart ached for the countless souls ensnared in this web of misunderstanding. As revelations poured forth like an open floodgate, I grappled with the urgency of what I was witnessing. This wasn't just my experience. It was a universal call to awaken. I was shown signs of desperation, the wars that seemed never-ending, fueled by ego and greed. I could feel the vibrations of discontent radiating across the earth, from the protests in the streets to the whispers of disillusionment in the hearts of ordinary people. The illusion of freedom and security began to crumble, replaced by a stark realization. We were being led astray. Beneath the surface of every daily encounter lay a battlefield, one that demanded my attention. Jesus showed me the manipulation of technology, too, the subtle ways it was being weaponized against us. Information became a tool, a double-edged sword that could uplift or decimate. The elite, with their smoke and mirrors, poured resources into controlling narratives, twisting the truth until it became unrecognizable. I realized that the awakening wasn't merely a personal journey, but a collective responsibility. Each of us had a role to play, a duty to confront the lies and reclaim our power. The visions of a brighter future flickered before me, but felt distant, guarded by shadows of doubt and conspiracy. As I returned to my body, the weight of these revelations settled heavily on my chest. The normalcy of life felt suffocating, a mundane mask hiding the intensity of the spiritual battle I was now aware of. I knew I had to share these truths, to stir the hearts of those around me, but the fear of backlash lingered in the corners of my mind. What would my community say? How would my family react? I could already envision their furrowed brows and disapproving whispers. Yet, I realized that every soul faced the choice of standing in truth or succumbing to deception. With this understanding, a flicker of courage sparked within me, igniting an urgent desire to bring others to the light. But the path ahead felt fraught with challenges, each revelation shaking the very foundation of my existence. I never imagined that a single moment could alter the course of my entire life. I was a simple truck driver, spending my days on long highways, far away from the noise of the city and the stresses of a life I thought I understood. My routine was simple, filled with the hum of the engine and the soft tunes of the radio. I often found solace in the open road, but one fateful day, that peace was shattered. I was involved in a catastrophic accident, a collision that sent my world spiraling into chaos. In those fleeting seconds before impact, time felt suspended, and as everything faded to black, I found myself floating in a realm beyond comprehension. What came next was an experience I can only describe as a near-death experience. I felt my spirit rise above my lifeless body, observing the frantic attempts to revive me. As the sirens wailed in the distance, I was enveloped in an incredible light that radiated warmth and love. It was in that sacred space that I encountered Jesus, not as a mere figure of history, but as the embodiment of truth and compassion. His presence offered a peace I had never known, eclipsing all the noise and confusion of my earthly existence. With each moment, he communicated profound revelations, truths that would forever reshape my understanding of reality and humanity's plight. Jesus revealed to me the hidden agenda behind the chaos of our world. I was shown scenes of political leaders, seemingly united in their quest for power, but driven by a deeper greed and manipulation. They played a dangerous game, leveraging fear and division to maintain control over the masses. I understood, with piercing clarity, that the elite were orchestrating a spiritual war, utilizing technology and media as tools of deception, puppeteering the hearts and minds of people, keeping them blind to the deeper truths that lay beyond the thin veil of their narratives. The futility of chasing worldly success and recognition became painfully obvious. In the grand scheme of existence, it was nothing more than a distraction from the path we were truly meant to follow. With each revelation, the urgency within me grew. I felt called to share what I had witnessed, to awaken others from their spiritual slumber. The burdens of my old beliefs began to fall away as I realized that love must transcend the rigid barriers of ideology. Faith is not meant to divide. It is meant to unite us in a shared pursuit of truth. But the further I delved into this new understanding, the more I could sense the storms of societal division brewing just beneath the surface. Wars and conflicts intensified, hinting at a future teetering on the edge of oblivion. The implications of these revelations weighed heavily on my heart, but so did the promise of love and hope that Jesus gifted me. I began to realize that I was no longer just an observer. I was now a participant in this profound spiritual battle. As I returned from that near-death experience, everything felt altered. I found myself grappling with how to communicate the urgency of this awakening to others. It was a daunting task. The face of resistance would come from those closest to me, who could not fathom this new vision blending. Love and faith, an unexpected bridge between before and after. I often found myself at odds with friends and family who clung to old doctrines, unaware of the chains binding them in a false sense of security. But each interaction reminded me of the larger mission, spreading the message of love that Jesus had bestowed upon me. It was as if I had become a lighthouse in a stormy sea, urging everyone around me to embrace the transformative power of true faith. And yet, as I continued on this path, I discovered the hidden layers of deception that permeated our lives, each more complex than the last. I became acutely aware of the spiritual wars that raged within and around us. As people struggled to grasp the profound truths I had encountered, the more I sought to illuminate their lives, the more I felt the violent pushback of a world intent on keeping them ensnared in darkness. The questions loomed large. How do I convey the essence of love and awakening to those who are so deeply entrenched in their beliefs? Each day became a struggle, a confrontation with doubt and fear. Yet I felt an undeniable pull toward greatness, a calling that inspired me to press on, risking everything for the sake of a higher purpose. As I bring my story to a close, I find myself compelled to ask you, what lies beyond the veil of your own beliefs? Have you felt the stirrings of something greater, a spiritual awakening that promises to shake the very foundations of this world? Because trust me, the battle rages on, and each of us plays a crucial role in the unfolding narrative. In that sacred space, I witnessed the interconnectedness of our humanity, and it became clear. This journey isn't solely mine. It belongs to all of us. We exist in a time of awakening, a moment when the darkness seeks to shroud our eyes, but the light of truth beckons us to confront the lies that keep us divided. So, I ask you, are you ready to embrace your role in this spiritual war? I invite you to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever felt a deep calling or a desire to awaken? Share your thoughts and insights in the comments below. I read every single one of them. You are not alone in this journey. Together we can find strength in our shared experiences, rising as warriors of light in a world that desperately needs it. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to Truth from Beyond and activate the notification bell. Your engagement is vital. It allows more souls to be reached and awakened to the truths that linger just beyond our understanding. The upcoming revelations promise to expand upon this message and guide us deeper into the heart of what truly matters. Thank you for being here, for joining me on this extraordinary journey of discovery. I'm Amina, and until next time, may you continue to seek the light amidst the shadows. Remember, the truth is waiting for those brave enough to find it.